So hey folks, I'm doing a follow up for the video that I did back in late May, where I was going to talk about the UFO soft disclosure that's going on. Before I get to that, I wanted to bring up. It's been found out that Fauci is a total fraud. Dr. Fauci, the one that's been scaring the living shit out of everybody. Pardon my French. About the dangers of COVID, which is 99.7% people that get it end up recovering. The ones that end up really sick are the ones that have underlying health conditions anyway. Anyway, these email releases have totally exposed this fraud, this Jesuit, for what he is. You remember how they... President Trump said hydrochloroquine would actually cure this ailment, and with very little to no side effect. They've been using it for 60 some odd years for other ailments with no side effects. Going to find out they hid the study they did. They skewed the results, and it was all about pressuring people into taking a shot, which I think it's very nefarious. I think that they use the shot to pump people full of chemicals that are eventually going to hurt them. This virus came. We're finding out that this virus came, just like I said a year and a half ago, that this came from Fort Detrick, Maryland, in Bethesda, Maryland, and it was shipped over to Wuhan back in 2016, and where it was refined, and then it was released. I'm not trying to take any credit for this. I've just listened to people that were in the know. One of them was a Chinese scientist her life is in danger right now. She is totally exiled from China. This flu shot, there's 48 different strains of the flu, okay? When you get a flu shot, you have a 1 out of 48 chance of getting the strain, being protected for whatever strain. Like I said, there's 48 of them, so you have a 1 out of 48 chance. We had tainted tests that came from, guess where? China. China produces 90% of all of our vaccines. And yeah, they may be American companies, but they still use Chinese labor. I mean, it's not that's big of a stretch to think that somebody could infiltrate and taint the vaccines. The testing that came from there, the big, long wooden swab that they shoved up people's noses, that went past the blood-brain barrier. For the first 3 months, most of those tests were tainted with the COVID virus. And so these people that are getting tested were actually were given the virus, and they were going to spread it. And and all of these masks that we all had to wear, they came from China as well. I mean, you can't even make this shit up. I mean, it's like the guy that had a table, and it said chips and dip, free. People come up, take a chip, scoop it in the dip, and say, "This tastes like crap." And the guy says it is. Want to buy a toothbrush? It's pretty much the same thing. Anyway, to get back to the real purpose of my video is about the soft disclosure that's going on. Is that after World War II, they had this project called Operation Paperclip, and it was a program that used the Vatican rent lines to whitewash the backgrounds of some of the most prominent Nazi scientists and intelligence agents, and they were brought over here and given new IDs, given new backgrounds, and they were put in places of intelligence and in part of rocketry. Werner von Braun was one of them, and on his deathbed, he claimed that one of the ways that the United States would be used to bring in the New World Order, this totalitarian fascist state technocratic monster like what we see now. And Zbigniew Brzezinski was one of the ones that wrote the book, The Tectonic Age, where he talked about how all of our information would be made available on a moment's notice, and that's what the NSA does. They take all of our data. They have what is known as a threat matrix score, and it's people like me that talk about this stuff. They have like 3 color codes: red, yellow, and blue. The red are the ones that are like me, that are putting out this information that they don't want y'all to know. And we're the biggest threat. Then you got the people that are yellow. They kind of know what's going on, but they'll be put in the re-education camps. And then you got the people on the blue level that don't know anything about what's going on. They'll go along with whatever they're told to do. They're not going to cause any trouble. But this information came out back in the late 90s about the threat matrix score. And this was long before the Patriot Act ever came along, where they started crunching all of our data and putting it into to bite-sized files that was then sent to the huge NSA facility in Utah. So all your phone calls, all your emails, all your Google searches, any text messages, all of that is put into a file under your name. You have your ISP address is specific to you, and they can recall it at any time. So anyway, Wernher von Braun was the one that was the big rocket guy. He was the expert for the Nazis, and he was put basically in charge of what became NASA. And if I can go back, the Jesuits are they're basically the military arm of the Vatican to counter the Reformation of Martin Luther that was back in the 1500s, where basically Martin Luther put the Bible in the hands of the ordinary person and in their own language. And what people found out was that the Vatican that would not allow anybody to have the Bible. They found out that there was no such thing as purgatory. There was no such thing as the vicar of Christ. The Pope is not the spokesperson for God on earth. And there's no such thing as indulgences, which people could pay in advance for their sins. If somebody wanted to have an affair on his wife, he could go to his priest and pay a certain amount of money in advance of what he was going to do. Nothing in the Bible has anything, doesn't have anything to do with that. And so people were finding out that they were getting played, they were getting worked, and the Vatican lost a lot of power, a lot of political power. So the Jesuits were formed at the Council of Trent in order to combat the Counter-Reformation. They were the Counter-Reformation go up against Martin Luther, who helped put the Bible in the hands of the ordinary person. So anyway, let's talk about the UFO soft disclosure thing that's going on. The incident in Roswell in 1947 actually happened. Okay, our radar system has a tendency to jam whatever these things are that are flying about. And there was a crash at Roswell. They swooped in, they picked up the craft, and they took it to Fort Patterson in Illinois in order to try to back engineer it. But before then, even we're talking back in the 30s, they had gotten these craft. There was a Harry Truman started what was known as Majestic 12, or the Jason Society, and these were 12 of the most prominent people. One of them was a Rockefeller, which Truman really screwed up when he allowed one of those in, and they basically took over the back engineering of these craft. And Dwight D. Eisenhower, when he became president, he wanted to know what was going on at Area 51. Now, Area 51, the reason why it's called Area 51 is that they had broken down the state of Nevada into grids. and Area 51 was a particular grid, and it also included Groom Lake, and that's where they decided to build this facility where they could back engineer these craft and test them. And when Eisenhower became president, he wanted to know what was going on out there, so he sent a couple of gentlemen. One of them was a whistleblower. He gave a deathbed testimony about what happened that day. That they went out to Area 51, and they told him that President Eisenhower didn't have any jurisdiction over this facility. Well, you don't tell an old war general, a 5-star general that's now the president, that he doesn't have any right to know what's going on out there. So when he got word back that he was told he had no jurisdiction, he sent them back and said, if you don't send a representative up here, I'm going to take the 8th Infantry from Colorado and we're going to overrun the place. So that's how Eisenhower was brought into the loop about what was really going on out there. And he gave a speech about warning about the military-industrial complex. And it wasn't just so much about, building plowshares into swords and creating all these different weapons. He was basically talking about this technology that was being hidden from us, that they were back engineering. And he was worried about it, and rightfully so. There's a really good... The X-Files came out after about a 10-year hiatus. That if you really want to see what we're really dealing with, I think that Chris Carter, who had inside information, he did episode 1 was called My Struggle, and then they did like 4 episodes where they do other stuff, but then the 6th episode called My Struggle 2, and it describes exactly what we're dealing with. And I can't stress that enough. If I can find a piece of that footage, I'll put it down in my description page. But it's incredible. I mean, when I watched it, people that have been reading my post on Facebook, they were like, "Damn, Dale, Chris Carter must have been reading your Facebook posts," because he talks about weather modification. He talks about big pharma. Talks about how the multinational corporations have taken over farming, and they've used that through weather modification. They cause weather anomalies that cause these farmers to have low yields, and so when they can't pay their debt, the the big multinational corporations like Monsanto comes in and buys them up for pennies on the dollar. And this is going on all the time. I mean, look at all these tornadoes that go right through the middle of the farmland, and right during harvesting time, right during planting time. And there was a big episode. It was like, they called it a hurricane on land that happened in Iowa, and it just destroyed about 1/3 of the crops in Iowa. And my thing is, I think they're going to try to starve us into compliance by stressing out our food supply. Anyway, the Archuleta Mesa is another place that allegedly this back engineering goes on, and the genetic splicing of human DNA with alien DNA. Phil Snyder gave a couple of really good lectures on this. He was an engineer, and he was an expert in rock, and he was lowered down because they came across a tunnel that was actually belonged to another race of human beings. I don't know if they were fallen angels, whatever, than the fallen, but he had his 3 fingers taken off. One of the aliens actually pressed his chest, and it shot out a laser, and it cut off his 4 fingers. And also, it ended up cutting off part of his foot. And the Black Berets, not Green Berets, but the Black Berets, one of them came down and actually rescued him. And this happened in 1979. And the Archuleta Mesa is actually being used in conjunction with Black Ops, the secret government, the shadow government, the ones that really are the power behind the throne. And in exchange, they were allowed to take humans and experiment on them for their DNA, and it was with the understanding that we would that the United States government would be given a list of people that they took, and of course they didn't hold up their end of the bargain. So a lot of theories is that the reason why we started getting all these visitors was because when we started testing the atomic bomb, that we opened up wormholes, stargates, that allowed these beings to come in into our solar system. William Cooper was one of the ones that blew the whistle on this. He actually was in naval intelligence, and he saw a couple of these craft, and they submerged themselves into the ocean. And now we've gotten footage released by the United States government, the Pentagon, that is validating exactly what William Cooper was talking about back in the early 90s. So, I mean, everything that he talked about, he's pretty much been validated. So, anyway, what Wernher von Braun said was that if all else failed, in order to bring us into a one world government, that there'd have to be an existential threat, and one of those ways, terrorism would be one of the ways they would try to use it, and then if all else fails, an alien invasion, the threat of an alien invasion. And all this gene splicing, it goes all the way back to the Nephilim. Noah's bloodline was pure. He wasn't a pure person, but his DNA was pure. That's why the flood happened, because for the Savior of man to manifest itself, it would have to have pure DNA. It couldn't have corrupted DNA. And in the Nephilim back in the days, they were splicing genes with animals, and they mated with women. They were known as the men of renown. They have found skeletons all over the world of giants 15, 16 feet tall, in excess of that. And the Smithsonian Institute has basically, which is a Rockefeller-funded foundation, and they've hidden this because it flies in the face of their theory of evolution. So you can't claim that evolution brought us to where we are if you've got hundreds of year old giant skeletons, of excess of 15 to 16 feet. So anyway, you can find a lot of articles back from the early 1900s where they came across caves that had these giant skeletons. Anyway, by the way, the War of the Worlds that came out, it was a radio broadcast back in the 1930s. It was a psyop. It was about how would people react if there was an alien invasion, and Orson Welles was behind it. The Tavistock Institution, the Frankfurt School, Brookings Institute, all of these institutions, they work and they study on how the human mind works and how well propaganda works. And Adolf Hitler went to the Tavistock Institute, And oh, by the way, he was a Rothschild bastard child, by the way. Uh, anyway, this self-disclosure that's going on, they're setting us up. They're setting us up for a fake alien invasion. They've been hiding all of this technology from us for the longest time. Like I said, watch the X-Files, My Struggle, episodes 1 and 2, and it'll give you a good grip on exactly what it is that we're facing. So anyway, I'm going to let it go here. I'll get back with y'all. If you got any feedback, please by all means let me know. Share this far and wide. I don't have my channel's not monetized. I wouldn't take any money even if it was. But people need to know this information. Do your own due diligence, man. Don't just take my word for it. I've given you all kinds of source documentation here that you can look up on your own and come to your own conclusion. I believe that God gave me the gift of discernment, and I don't have much time left on this earth, and my health is really, really bad. And I'm going to do what I can while I can, and people can blow me off if they want to. But I've done my research, and a lot of the stuff that I've learned and stood on the shoulders of people that have had the balls to come out and talk about this stuff. They're being proven correct. So anyway, God bless you guys, and stay strong in the Word. In the end, we know how this all ends. God rules. Anyway, love you guys.